Right now, somewhere in your neighborhood, someone is spending actual money to kill one of the most nutritious plants on Earth. They're spraying it, pulling it, cursing its existence. And what they're destroying? A plant that contains more omega-3 fatty acids than almost any other leafy green. A succulent packed with antioxidant vitamins, minerals, and compounds that researchers describe as having a wide spectrum of pharmacological properties. Its crime? Growing in the wrong place. This is purslane. In Chinese medicine, it's ma qi xian. In Mexican kitchens, it's verdolagas. In scientific literature, one peer-reviewed review called it a global panacea. But in your garden, it's just a weed. We don't harvest it, we wage war against it. And by the time this video ends, you're going to question everything you thought you knew about the plants beneath your feet. Because purslane isn't the problem. The way we see it is science. The proof in the leaves. Let's start with what makes this worthless weed worth more than half the vegetables in your refrigerator. Purslane, scientifically known as Portulaca oleracea, is a low-growing succulent with thick paddle-shaped leaves and reddish stems. It sprawls across the ground, forming dense mats. And inside those fleshy leaves is a biochemical toolkit that most people never discover. First, the omega-3 claim. You've probably heard exaggerated versions online, more omega-3 than salmon. That's misleading, and we're not doing that here. Salmon is rich in EPA and DHA, the marine omega-3s your brain craves. But purslane is exceptionally rich in alpha-linolenic acid, or ALA, the plant-based omega-3. According to peer-reviewed research, purslane stands out as one of the richest plant sources of omega-3 among leafy vegetables. That's not hype. That's published science. Now let's talk vitamins. Purslane contains meaningful amounts of antioxidant vitamins. Vitamin C, vitamin E, and beta-carotene, the precursor to vitamin A. These aren't trace amounts. Scientific reviews highlight these as significant components of purslane's nutritional profile. Minerals? Purslane delivers. Magnesium, potassium, calcium, all present in a plant you can pull from a sidewalk crack. The USDA Food Data Central Database, the government's official nutrition reference, confirms purslane's nutrient density, around 20 calories per 100 grams, but packed with vitamins and minerals. That's not just has nutrients. That's nutrient density, nutrients per calorie. Most foods can't compete with that ratio. And then there are the phytochemicals. Purslane contains flavonoids, alkaloids, polysaccharides, terpenoids, and sterols. This isn't a salad green, it's a chemical laboratory. But here's what matters most. These aren't isolated compounds in a supplement bottle. They're delivered in a whole food matrix, the way nature designed them. No extraction, no processing, no patent. Purslane didn't appear in your garden yesterday. It's been feeding people for millennia. The ancient Greeks knew it. The Romans ate it. Traditional Chinese medicine practitioners prescribed it for gastrointestinal issues and skin conditions, calling it ma qi xian. Ayurvedic medicine incorporated it across multiple regions. Mediterranean cultures cooked it with olive oil. Middle Eastern kitchens mixed it with yogurt. Mexican cuisine turned it into verdolagas, a traditional dish that still appears on tables today. For thousands of years, people didn't call it a weed. They called it dinner. Purslane spread across continents through trade routes and human migration. It adapted to nearly every climate. It survived droughts, poor soils, and neglect. And everywhere it went, people recognized its value. In some regions, purslane was more than food. Ethnobotany reviews describe its traditional use across multiple medical systems, for inflammation, digestive complaints, wound healing, and more. These weren't superstitions. These were practical applications refined over generations. The knowledge was universal, the respect was global, and then something changed. So how did people actually use this plant? In the kitchen, purslane is versatile. The leaves and young stems are both edible. Raw, they have a slightly tangy, lemony flavor and a satisfying crunch. Think between spinach and cucumber. Toss them in salads, blend them into smoothies, chop them into tacos. Cooked, purslane behaves differently than delicate greens. Because it's a succulent, it holds its texture. You can sauté it like spinach, add it to soups and stews, or stir-fry it with garlic and onions. In Mexican cooking, verdolagas are often cooked with tomatoes, jalapenos, and pork. A hearty, nutritious dish that's been passed down for generations. And here's where traditional wisdom meets food science. In some cultures, Purslane is eaten with yogurt. Mediterranean dishes combine the two. Turkish recipes include purslane and yogurt together. Why does this matter? Because yogurt reduces oxalates. Purslane, like spinach, contains oxalates, compounds that can contribute to kidney stones in susceptible people. But research shows that adding yogurt to purslane significantly reduces soluble oxalate levels through calcium binding. This isn't just taste, this is chemistry. These traditional preparations weren't random. They were refined nutritional strategies. Beyond food, purslane had medicinal applications. Crushed leaves were applied topically to skin irritations. Infusions were used for digestive issues. These uses are documented in ethnomedicine reviews and traditional texts. Today, foragers harvest it from yards and parks. Home gardeners intentionally cultivate it. Health-conscious cooks add it to juices and salads. The plant never disappeared. The knowledge did. So why did we stop seeing purslane as food and start seeing it as an enemy? Follow the money. Purslane is unpatentable. It grows for free. You can't trademark it, monopolize it, or charge subscription fees for it. In a food system built on intellectual property and market control, that's a problem. From an agricultural perspective, purslane is competition. It thrives in the same conditions as commercial crops. It spreads aggressively. It disrupts monoculture, the single-crop farming model that dominates modern agriculture. In that system, any plant that isn't the cash crop is an enemy. The herbicide industry benefits from this framing. Purslane is featured in weed identification guides published by agrochemical companies. It's listed as a target species for broadleaf herbicides. Homeowners are taught to recognize it so they can destroy it. And here's the irony. While we're spending money to kill free omega-3s growing in our yards, we're also spending money to buy omega-3 supplements derived from fish oil and algae. The supplement industry is worth billions. Purslane undermines that. There's no conspiracy here, just economics. Systems designed to generate profit struggle with plants that provide nutrition for free. Purslane's real crime is abundance. It grows without permission. It spreads without investment. And in a world where scarcity creates value, abundance becomes a threat. Here's what we're doing to purslane right now. Residential herbicide use has exploded. Homeowners apply broadleaf killers to lawns to eliminate anything that isn't grass. Purslane is a primary target. We're poisoning it because it breaks the aesthetic uniformity of our green carpets. In agriculture, herbicide application is even more aggressive. Industrial farming relies on clean fields, monocultures free of competing plants. Purslane, with its explosive growth and massive seed production, is a major target. And those seeds? That's where the real problem lives. Cornell University's weed profile notes that purslane seeds can remain viable for 30 to 40 years. Purdue's Extension Service confirms the same timeframe. Colorado State University documents that a single purslane plant can produce over 52,000 seeds. Read that again. One plant. 52,000 seeds, each one capable of waiting decades. You're not fighting a plant. You're fighting time. A purslane seed can wait in the soil for 40 years. And when the soil is disturbed by tilling, construction, or even heavy rain, it wakes up. This is why purslane survives, but it's also why people hate it. Meanwhile, omega-3 deficiency is a recognized nutritional gap in modern diets. Heart disease remains a leading cause of death. We're facing nutrition crises while actively destroying one of the few plants that could help address them. The knowledge fade is generational. Grandparents who foraged purslane didn't pass it on. Urbanization disconnected people from wild foods. And now, we have entire generations who see only weeds where their ancestors saw meals. Let's be clear about what purslane threatens. It threatens the supplement industry. Why buy omega-3 capsules when you can pick them from your yard? It threatens industrial agriculture. Purslane doesn't need pesticides, fertilizers, or irrigation systems. It just grows. That's not a business model. It threatens the lawn care industry. A perfect lawn requires constant input, mowing, watering, herbicides. Purslane disrupts that cycle by thriving in neglect. And it threatens a deeper cultural mindset, the idea that value comes from control. We've been conditioned to see nature as something to dominate, not cooperate with. A plant that refuses to obey becomes an enemy. This is the weed mentality. Weed isn't a botanical category. It's a cultural judgment. It means a plant growing where someone doesn't want it. The definition is subjective. The herbicide is not. Purslane's survival strategy offends modern aesthetics. It sprawls. It seeds prolifically. It grows in cracks, corners, and margins. It doesn't fit the clean, controlled monoculture ideal. But what if that resilience is exactly what we need? What if the plant we're destroying is more adapted to climate instability, water scarcity, and poor soils than the crops we're protecting? Nature doesn't ask permission, and we punish it for that. Here's what happens when we eradicate purslane. Health consequences. We lose access to a free, renewable source of plant-based omega-3s. We miss out on antioxidant vitamins, minerals, and bioactive compounds. We increase our dependence on supplements and industrial food systems. Purslane is drought-tolerant and thrives in poor soil. It requires no irrigation, no fertilizer, and no pest control. In a climate crisis, that resilience matters. But instead of leveraging it, we're eliminating it. We lose traditional food knowledge. We sever the connection between people and their local ecosystems. We forget how to recognize, harvest, and prepare wild foods. And there's a deeper loss, a loss of perspective. When we label plants as weeds, based purely on aesthetics or convenience, we reveal how disconnected we've become from the natural systems that sustain us. Purslane doesn't need us, we need it, and we're choosing not to see that. But the story isn't over. Purslane is being rediscovered. Chefs in farm-to-table restaurants are adding it to menus. Health influencers are posting foraging videos. Farmers markets in some regions now sell it as a specialty green. Research continues. Studies explore purslane's anti-diabetic potential, its anti-inflammatory pathways, its antimicrobial properties. The pharmacology reviews describe a wide spectrum of investigated activities, from neuroprotection to metabolic support. The evidence is still building, but the interest is real. Community gardens are cultivating it intentionally. Foraging groups share identification guides online. YouTube videos teach people how to distinguish purslane from its toxic look-alike, spurge, because correct identification is everything. And slowly, the narrative is shifting. Purslane isn't just a weed. It's an edible, a nutrient source, a climate-resilient crop, a link to ancestral food traditions. The comeback is grassroots. It's decentralized. It's being driven by people who are tired of outsourcing their nutrition and ready to reconnect with the abundance that's already growing around them. Here's the bigger lesson. Purslane is everywhere. Not just the plant itself, but what it represents. How many other weeds are actually food? How many plants have we been conditioned to destroy without asking what they offer? Dandelions? Chickweed? Lamb's quarters? Plantain? All edible, all nutritious, all labeled as problems. We live in a world designed to make us believe that value comes from stores, that nutrition requires packaging, and that nature is something to control rather than learn from. Purslane challenges all of that. It grows without permission. It thrives in neglect. It provides without asking for anything in return. And maybe that's the real lesson. Abundance doesn't have to be scarce. Nutrition doesn't have to be expensive. And the plants we've been taught to hate might be exactly what we need. So here's what you can do. First, learn to identify purslane. Look for thick, succulent leaves, smooth reddish stems, and sprawling growth. Learn the difference between purslane and spurge. Spurge has milky sap and thinner leaves. Get it right. Correct identification isn't optional. Second, stop poisoning it. If purslane appears in your yard, don't reach for the herbicide. Harvest it. Eat it. Share it with neighbors. Third, grow it intentionally. Purslane is easy to cultivate. It loves heat, tolerates poor soil, and requires almost no care. Plant it in a corner of your garden and let it spread. Fourth, spread the knowledge. Share this video. Talk to your friends. Post your purslane recipes online. Challenge the weed mentality wherever you encounter it. Purslane is just the beginning. It's a doorway into a larger conversation about control, abundance, and reconnection.